Welcome to another episode of the Behind the GAVL podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Raplee, co-founder, CEO of GAVL. GAVL is a legal digital marketing agency. We specialize in websites, search engine optimization, paid ads, high-end cinematography, you name it. We help lawyers get connected to clients and help their brands. Today is a very special episode. I am joined by one of my good friends, and actually their client, but good friend, someone who's been in this industry for a long time, Ray DeLorenzi of RebuttalPR. He is a strategist who has helped shape the narrative in some of the most high-profile mass torts and class actions of the past 15 years. From the halls of Congress to the courtroom, Ray has led communications campaigns tied to verdicts and settlements totaling tens of billions of dollars. He's worked alongside disabled former athletes, sexual abuse survivors, and individuals harmed by defective products, building media strategies designed to help clients secure justice in the most challenging circumstances. A 5-time Law Dragon Global 100 leader in legal strategy and consulting, Ray previously served as communications director for the American Association for Justice and was a partner at a DC-based public affairs firm. A graduate of the George Washington University, Ray now lives in the New York metro area. I met Ray several years ago at AAJ conventions, have gotten to know him better over the years. Great client of ours. We have several clients of ours that work with Ray and his team at Rebuttal. They do phenomenal work, and I'm very excited to chat with him and learn more about PR, more about the intersections between PR and generative optimization, large language models, and how all these things are coming together. You guys know I don't like using the keywords or the buzzwords AEO and GEO, but today we're going to a little bit, it is kind of a thing, so I'm going to embrace it as much as I can. Yeah, let's dive in and talk to Ray. Ray DeLorenzi, welcome to the show. Welcome to the 5th episode of the Behind the GAVL podcast. Very excited to have you on the show today.
Thanks so much, Ryan, for having me. I feel kind of depressed for you that you couldn't do better than me, but here I am. I am honored too. So
it was no easy feat. I mean, I actually had to go through a lot of red tape to get you. There was a lot of emails, a lot of different people. You have like your own SWAT team over there at RebuttalPR. So kudos to you.
Oh, I appreciate it. They protect me from myself.
Little do they know what you're in store for today. So for people meeting you for the first time, let's just share a little bit about yourself and why lawyers should care about PR right now.
Yeah, sure. So let me do a little wind up. I started RebuttalPR end of 2020 out of the pandemic. Like a lot of folks had a existential crisis of what I wanted to do with my life. But to really take it back, from 2008 to 2012, I was communications director for the American Association for Justice. So that's how I got to know the plaintiffs bar. And I left AAJ to go into do communications consulting on the plaintiffs and defense side. And I did that for 9 years. And it was great to learn how the defense side works, but also wasn't my passion. So I started RebuttalPR to focus strictly on the plaintiffs bar, because we were seeing a need over time for plaintiffs' lawyers to burnish their reputation in a way that wasn't dependent on advertising, which you don't build a reputation based on advertising. You build brand recognition, and that's a paid way to do it. But PR is really how you earn it. Telling the story of the work you do. Or, we also do work on specific pieces of litigation in which, telling the story of what the defendant failed to do or how they may have injured someone. So defense firms and corporations have used PR in a pretty sophisticated manner for decades. The plaintiffs bar has been behind that in some respects, but we've been trying to fix that.
Why do you think that is? Just out of curiosity, why do you think the plaintiff side has been so far behind? I know even like from the AI side, the defense side has had tools for so long that the plaintiff side has not had. But in PR side, why do you think that is?
I don't think there's one reason. I think corporations just have sort of this built-in apparatus to have reputational concerns more top of mind.
Protection
And
budgets, that kind of thing.
yeah, that. And also, again, you're talking about a company that may be spending like hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in paid advertising. So protecting their reputation from PR, it's like a hedge, to protect against that, almost insurance. And on the plaintiff side, there was just historically, lawyers were like, we'll just buy our way, to get more leads. As I think the economics of the plaintiff's bar has changed, and there was more competition, but now there's a fear of consolidation. I think law firms are asking themselves, hey, how do we set ourselves apart here? Because we can't spend tens of millions of dollars a month on leads or billboards or TV ads. So let's do something different. And they have found that, especially when we're kind of in an information ecosystem where people don't know what to trust. And PR is a way to earn that trust that can't be bought through a lot of paid media.
So you and I both know in the plaintiff side of law, I mean, the marketing spends for some of these firms is astronomical. The value of cases is high and everything. But for you guys as PR, I see that being a big part of that for the big guys. But do you have any clients who don't necessarily market or spend and they're just kind of referral based, but still where PR is very important to them?
Yeah. That's a good question. Because most, if not all, the law firms we work with are not advertisers or big advertisers. If they were, I think they have different business models in which typically, and I don't want to say across the board, they don't value PR as much. They're like, you know what, we're doing billboards and TV ads and radio and Google ads, social will spend, and we're just going to get our leads that way. And those are more volume businesses. But we work with firms, it can range from like, we work with firms that's one lawyer, two lawyers to, 50 lawyers. Some of them do advertising, but they also appreciate that they need different levers to reach clients. And sure, paid is one of them, but they also know like potential clients are looking them up, on Google, and a website is like super important, but also it doesn't provide third-party validation that being in the news can provide. Sometimes they'll work on a case where they know they represent one victim, but they know there's 10 others out there, and the news media can help tell that story. It also sends a sort of a signal to referring lawyers or even judges that, hey, this is like a serious lawyer who knows how to handle these cases, and their reputation in those forums is really important. So again, big advertisers, not necessarily the ones that would be interested in us, but we do work with firms that do, I'd say, a medium amount of advertising, a significant amount, to ones that do none, and view PR as a more sustainable and unique way to get the types of cases that they're really interested in when they're not really operating at a volume basis.
I like that. And not only that, but what you guys do also helps the cases, it helps the victims. I mean, it helps the kind of the industry as a whole, which I think is good for everybody. So you guys are kind of behind the scenes, but also making, helping even that playing field and get eyes on certain cases that may not have been on them before, which is really great.
No, I appreciate that, Ryan. And look, we're like true believers. I mean, like and
most of our clients are. I mean, quite honestly, I've had some negative experience with law firms, family experiences, before I even started GAVL over a decade ago. So when I got into this side of marketing, I was a little hesitant at first, but then once I got into this group, like the AAJ group, the injury board group, it's like, these are the who's who, the attorneys who are in it for the right reason. So we're not just blowing smoke up people's ass when we're pushing some of these agendas out there. That's like, it's real stuff, and it's real valuable stuff, and it's real, there's real victims, and there's real things on the line that's just not they're not numbers. A lot of these, we talk about a lot of the big advertising firms where they get a lot of case flow and stuff. To a lot of them, they are just a number. Where most of the clients we work with, I mean, they become family.
I was at the gym yesterday, which was a small humble brag there, just working out. But
I haven't been to the gym in years.
But they have all the TVs, and I looked up, and there was this TV ad for some lawyer I never heard of. I don't even know if they're really a lawyer. They just maybe an advertiser, and it had the word windfall on the screen, and I nearly lost my mind. I care about these issues. I work with lawyers who care about these issues, and if they didn't, I wouldn't work with them. But who is injured and sees the compensation they get for that injury as a windfall? And also, that's not how the courts work. And they're just doing a disservice to the whole plaintiff's bar.
That's what gives it a bad name. Yeah.
There are corporations that are trying to destroy people's rights left and right. And they're just handing it to them. Hey, use this windfall ad to paint the whole plaintiff's bar with an ugly brush that isn't representative. And
I don't want to drop names, but there's one top attorney out there. I'll call him the top dog attorney, which maybe that's his name. I don't know. But he always has stacks of cash as it's a phone or something. I mean, it's disgusting, quite honestly.
It may get the phone ringing, I guess, but you're going to have.
It's
you're going to have disappointed clients, and
it hurts the industry.
Yeah.
It hurts the people that need it the most. Let's even backtrack just a little bit. We've kind of been just talking here for a little bit, but for folks that don't know, what is public relations? What's the elevator pitch? If we meet in an elevator and I'm like, hey, what do you do? And you're like, oh, I'm a PR. What is PR?
Yeah, we work with law firms to elevate their profiles amongst the audiences that they need to reach. That's really what it is at its heart. And now there's not a one size fits all solution for every law firm, but that's what they're looking to do. And it's not, I think some folks may have this preconceived notion. It's oh, I need PR when I'm in trouble. Quite honestly, if you're in trouble and then you call us, it probably would have been better to call us before you're in trouble. But again, it depends on what the law firm is and what they're trying to achieve. But for the firms that we typically work with, they are trying to expand their notoriety either in a specific geographic area or a specific practice area. Which may be irrespective of geography, or it could be both. They are trying to find unique and interesting ways to do that outside of just spending, tons of money on advertising, when they also know they have competitors in their backyard who often aren't real lawyers. They're just referring lawyers. And they're how do I break through that? By finding ways to inject yourself into sort of the public dialogue and conversation, working with reporters to tell the story of the cases you're filing, or the results you're getting, or finding ways to comment on news of the day that is specific to your law practice, or, getting more speaking engagements again amongst the potential audiences that can bring you cases. Those are the sorts of things that we work with law firms on, again, to elevate their profile and bring them, more cases and more opportunities to help the people that they know they can serve.
Nice. And where I start to get as a marketer, I look at things from a different lens sometimes, but now I see PR being more important than ever. And this is why, I will refer folks to you and I will say, hey, look, we do SEO, we do great websites. There's this, I won't say a shift, but it's a whole other kind of way of thinking now with these large language models, right? So historically, SEO, the big driving factor is earned backlinks. Now, and with PR could help do that, which was great. But a lot of times you get mentioned in an article and you don't get a backlink because it's a news site that, and historically there wasn't much value to that from a pure SEO standpoint. Sure, brand reputation management, all that stuff, great. But now we're seeing where brand mentions are the new fuel for being in the consideration for visibility in the large language model results. So people throw out the word generative engine optimization, GEO. You have AIO, answer engine optimization, or AEO. You guys now are at a pivotal point to where you are now even more valuable, more important. Are you guys seeing this more leads coming into you guys where people are just talking about AI overviews and getting brand mentions, or what do you guys see out there?
Yeah, it's an interesting time. And also, everything you said is correct, where more and more potential clients are using AI to find a law firm. Just put aside the law firm for a moment, we've had more people call us interested in working with our team. And I always ask, hey, how'd you learn about us? And oftentimes it's through AAJ, another lawyer we work with referred. More and more, it's they found us through AI, which is like really fascinating. We've seen that tick up in the last probably 6 months. More than, but there was a study, and I can send to you after this. If you have show notes, you can put it in there.
Yeah.
There's this company called Muckrack, which is for PR professionals. It's like a database that helps you get contact information for reporters. It's like one of our tools to the trade. And they put out a report a couple of months ago that looked at how AI was ranking different types of websites, based upon someone's query. And the amount that AI is using journalistic sources far more than, typically Google would really rely on someone's own website. Yep. AI weighs that with some value, but they are really looking for third-party references to find, who makes the most sense. And you're seeing certain news outlets come to the top. Reuters and Axios were like two of the ones that ranked really highly, but that, I think like the Washington Post and New York Times are, outlets you would think would be high, but the models are, pulling in and vacuuming up that data, and they are relying on it, much more so than self-created information to decide, how they're going to answer a query. There's a law firm we worked with. They had a big verdict like 2 weeks ago, within like probably 3 days of that. If you asked, hey, who's like the best law firm I've been injured in, and we put their geography, they were number one, and the citations were to that verdict that happened less than 72 hours prior. And then if you're asking about that specific product, it was a product case they did, they were coming up to the top. Again, in the earlier days of, let's say ChatGPT, like when the 3 model came out, which is really the first public model, it was, you would often get results that were like a year or 18 months dated. You're now seeing that is like, they're
calling fast. Oh yeah.
Yes. And, it's just a whole new world of how, and again, it's not like your website isn't important. I mean, we have, I think, a really good one. Our developer was,
I appreciate
pretty darn good.
That.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. GAVL did our website, they did an incredible job. But like, so, I mean, it's still important because, I think a more sophisticated client's still going to go and check out your website, make sure like, hey, are these people legit? But you're seeing the models rely on third-party stuff tremendously. The last thing I'll say, Ryan, before I shut up is I think there was this idea from, let's say companies that I don't think were like trying to do some tricks and gimmicks to get like backlinks or references on garbage websites. I'd often see it done like on like Forbes or like Entrepreneur, like this pay to play garbage. And you can see the AI models, like they are not falling for it. They are interested in a lot of the ranking sites I've seen, like Super Lawyers and things like that. Those awards, again, not all of them, but some of them we are seeing come to the top. But like, if someone's trying to like buy some like crummy backlink somewhere on a site you like would never read in real life, the AI is not going to read it either. So
I mean, the AI really has no care in the world how many backlinks your website has, how many, whatever it is. They really care about these brand mentions, and and also what your brand is mentioned by. What are the keywords surrounding your brand? Brand search now is helping drive SEO as well. So there's so many different things that are kind of at a crossroads right now and intersecting. There's still a lot of firms out there. If you just search their brand name, they don't necessarily show up on page 1 or even in the overviews or whatever, where PR, what that is doing, and kind of honestly what we're doing too. I mean, we build backlinks for our clients, but we're also building brand mentions. We're building things where if we can get mentioned on a site, not necessarily get a backlink, we're still happy as long as we can get it next to the keywords that make sense. Obviously, we don't want to have XX law firm next to Legos or something like that. Relevance still matters, where I think in the SEO side, relevance matters, but still, I'll take a backlink on lego.com and that'll drive a shitload of value to the website. We're seeing this too. Like if you Google search something and the AI overview pops up, they are showing, and this has been for forever now, they'll show you never know if the brand or the firm name is going to be a hyperlink to the website. You don't know if it's just going to be text. You don't know if it's going to be a hyperlink to a Google search for that brand name. And it's it's kind of crazy. I mean, now I think we're starting to see a little more where they're hyperlinking to it, but still, brand is the most important thing right now. I mean, brand's always been very important, but from a straight digital PR, brand is so important.
Yeah. And you saw firms, I think, for a while that just had this idea, hey, we can just, spend our way, and get leads that way. And brand is not important. And I think you're seeing the tide has turned. And look, this is a case study of one. So, take it with a grain of salt. But, for my firm, we don't do any pay-per-click, anything like that. We're not a law firm. We have a very defined audience of the plaintiffs bar that we are trying to reach. And we have a great looking website. We support various organizations in the civil justice community because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I have no idea if they give us a link or not. Oftentimes I'll see, of course, like we sponsor AAJ, for example. I used to work there. It's home for us. We're supporters of Public Justice, another great organization. I suspect they have our logo on their website. I don't know, and I don't check. But if you go on, Claude or ChatGPT and ask, like, what's the best PR firm for like a plaintiff's law firm? It answers us. And
I've had there.
And it's the brand dimensions. It's not because there's all these like backlinks about us. It's it's not something we're now if you do that in a Google search, I'm curious what would come up. I haven't done it recently. And again, it's not how we are trying to necessarily, reach people, but it underscores, again, a case study of one. Your mileage may vary, but it's certainly interesting, how the landscape is evolving.
Yeah, no, it's wild. I mean, if anyone's listening to this who is not doing PR now, I mean, I literally get emails every week from people asking, hey, how do we rank better in the large language models? And I'm like, well, you need to get brand mentions. You need to be, you need to get out there. Actually, it's kind of crazy. One thing that we're going to start offering here as a service is podcast management and basically white glove service for podcast management. And this is not how everyone else is doing it. Everyone else is creating, all these other law firms are creating podcasts to talk about the law. We are going to be creating podcasts to talk about your local community, bring in your local business leaders, your local entrepreneurs. Don't even talk about your law firm. Distribute it through your law firm, but don't talk about it, because then you get brand mentions hyper local on social media, on their websites, and you're not selling your service, because that's not the whole point. You're going to uplift your community, but you're also going to get rewarded by all these brand mentions.
And it's also reciprocative. I made up that word, but reciprocal, I guess, is the better one. I forgot to mention, we have a podcast, plug for Raising the Bar with RebuttalPR. Thank you. That probably had a good deal to do with our LLM ranking and appearance. And I shouldn't have sort of been dismissed or didn't mention it earlier. Again, I don't know for sure, but in our podcast is, it's not talking about the work we do. We bring in really amazing trial lawyers to talk about their practice and how they became lawyers. And we do it because it's interesting and people really enjoy it.
And they're sharing it.
Yeah. And that's there's one trialer, I won't mention who they are, but they are an incredible trialer. Like, everyone knows who this individual is. And if you search this person's name in Google, our podcast comes up first, not even their own website, which is like wild. Again, I don't know.
They need some SEO help. So send them my way.
I mean, this lawyer, let me tell you, they are not struggling. They are in demand, and they do amazing work. I think that's, great you guys are doing that, Ryan, because I especially if you, and I think the approach is right. Let's say you are trying to do more in Sheboygan. Sheboygan is always my town USA.
Where is Sheboygan? Hold on. What
Wisconsin,
state?
I believe it's in Wisconsin. Right. It's mentioned in Home Alone when they rent the U-Haul to
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's my only frame of reference for Sheboygan.
Yeah.
Let's say you really want to be the go-to law firm in Sheboygan, doing a podcast where you bring in leaders from the Sheboygan community, and you're not talking about your law firm, you're just talking, that is a way to become part of the community in a way that I think is unique and valuable.
You're giving before you're getting.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually setting it up right now. I'm going to be starting mine as proof of concept. So right behind me, I got 4 podcast mics set up. I got, a nice new neon over here. I got this is going to be set up to where I'm going to have an awesome local, because I live in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. There is no local podcasts here. No one, and we have so many great stories and there's this rich history. I hope Tad and Mike are listening to this because they're going to laugh because I like to talk about Williamsport so much. And they've been here both a couple times. And it's, I don't know if they walked away as delighted as I told them it was going to be, but it's got to be close, right? So I'm going to do this as a proof of concept, and I already have buzz around the community. People are like, "Hey, when are you going to get that going? I want to be a guest." I'm like, if you can provide value before you get, it's going to be huge. It's just the best thing. Like, we used to see this in the SEO world where we would try to get creative on how do we get the local auto repair guy to give us a backlink, right? Like, we would just always be thinking about these things. We're in this age where it's like, man, if you just shift your thought process and how you give value before you get hyper local, I mean, sky's the limit.
Yeah. The one, we hear from clients are like, oh, I want to do a podcast. And I think this is in anything you do, whether it's a podcast, you're doing SEO, you're doing PR work, you have to be consistent. And if you
you have to have intent behind it. Like, that's the thing too. Like, everyone's like, hey, I just want to do a podcast. Everyone's doing a podcast. All right. So what's your intent? Why do you want to do, like, you can't just do something to do something. You have to have a reason behind it.
Yeah. Our podcast, I came up with the idea. It was just like one of those random things that I screamed out, and people were like, huh. It took us a year from the time we thought of it to airing the first one. And it's not like we were dragging our feet. It was like, what do we want to talk about? What are the design elements around it? And also, we always ask when someone's like, I want to do a podcast. I'm like, okay, how often are you going to do it? They're like, do it once a week. And I'm like, are you going to carve out that amount of time? Because,
it's not easy.
No. And consistency, the podcast doesn't need to be A+++. It should be very good. But if you are looking, like, being very good but consistent is a lot better than being A++ and not being consistent. Because like, if you're going to commit to it, you need to see it through. Otherwise, it's not worth the trouble.
I mean, I'm only on my 5th episode for this Behind the GAVL podcast, and I've already learned a lot in just 5 episodes, and the more you stay consistent, the more you're going to get better, the more you're going to feel more relaxed. And it's just like, it's so rewarding too, because it gives you a reason to get into your community, talk to these people. Next thing you know, no one necessarily knows you when you go down to the pub, but now you're going to go down and somebody's going to come up, but hey, thanks for talking about my friend, Mary Jo, who's the local pasta maker or something like that. It's just, it's small world stuff. And most of our clients are living in communities where not everyone's in Chicago and the big cities. Let's keep moving, because I have a couple more questions for you.
Far away.
So does it matter, and we just kind of talked about this, doesn't matter whether the coverage is national or local media?
Who are you trying to reach? And of course, I mean, it definitely matters, but one is not worse than the other. We've worked on cases that, let me try to give an example. Oftentimes, and I mentioned this before, there's a victim that a law firm was representing, but there are 10 more or 20 more in that community. Okay. Let's say it was, you often see these, unfortunately, in abuse cases, or you could have, a doctor who's like committing widespread med mal on a patient population. It makes national news because it's such like a horrific set of circumstances. And, the national news it can be important for that lawyer and that law firm. But in terms of reaching potential plaintiffs and other people who have been injured, the local news often drives that more. The interesting thing about, I think, the media environment, I think there is this notion, which is totally incorrect, that like, oh, the media is dying, blah, blah, blah. A lot of news outlets have huge business problems. Like, don't get me wrong, but there are more ways than ever for people to get information. And that is not shrinking. It is only growing and growing and growing. It's very much, choose your own adventure in terms of how you want to get your news. You can go to, a local news outlet, like local TV still gets huge numbers. I think people are dismissive of. Like, people can go read a Substack. There's a ton of ways for people to get information. So again, sometimes, we work on something and there may be an audience of like 5 people. Like, it could just be like the defendant and their general counsel you're sending a message to. That's my long-winded way of answering. It matters, but one is not better than the other.
Yep. So here's a question for you, actually, that just came to mind because we're talking about LLMs and stuff. But if you get a client, say, on local news, do they get rights to reuse that content, like that footage, like whatever was aired, or no?
No,
No.
that's owned
Okay.
by the news outlet. I would say an exception to that is like if you're on something that isn't part of, like, I'll call it the quote unquote corporate media, which is such a loaded term, and I don't mean it in that way. If you're like on someone's podcast, you can usually like ask permission to be like, hey,
Right.
like, can I, put this on my website? And usually the individual is okay with it. But if you're on like the local NBC or ABC or CBS affiliate in your community, like, it's
Not going to happen.
They're never going to let you do that. Now,
The only reason I ask is because, the number 2 cited source in these large language models is YouTube. So if you could get that video and then change the title, change the description, change things about it, where all of a sudden that becomes an influence in the large, somebody's query in an LLM, it's just one extra thing you could do with that asset.
I've seen, and look, I am not go consult a media lawyer on this, but if you are doing commentary over that news article, like that video, let's say, does it create sort of like a fair use? You're turning it into a creative kind of work.Maybe YouTube may still take it down. They may get a copyright notice to take it down.
TikTok doesn't take it down, because I know there's this one lawyer who's got like 1 million plus followers, and that's what this guy does. I mean, it's ingenious.
Yeah, that would be the avenue to do it. Like, as in like a TikTok style where, you have your, face talking over a news article. So that'd be a way to do it. But also I'm never seeing TikTok come up in the models. So, and it seems like they have no care for copyright law. So.
Yeah. What's for dinner tonight?
Sushi. My older kid wanted sushi tonight, and he's been asking for a couple days, and I said, all right, let's do it.
What motivates you more, competition or curiosity?
Competition. It really should be curiosity, but yeah, I'm also a curious person, but at the end of the day, motivates me. I love winning.
Same. Also, I am very curious though. I'm down so many rabbit holes. My team laughs at me, the amount of rabbit holes I go down. Like, I'll be working on one thing, next thing I'll send them something like, I thought you were working on something else. I'm like, I am at the same time, but I also have 10,000 tabs open, and I'm vibe coding stuff. I'm doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So
as I've gotten older, it has definitely swung in the way of curiosity, and I think that's a good thing, for at least for me. So
what's the last book you actually finished?
Notes on Being a Man by Scott Galloway.
Do you think that could help me?
It could. I think you're a great gentleman.
I think Oscar and Catherine are laughing their asses off right now.
Yeah. So Scott Galloway, he's like a business guy. He has a podcast with Kara Swisher that's very popular. I'm not the biggest fan of his. He would admit it. He's like a huge egomaniac, but he writes about, and the book I think is with some controversy. I take some of it with a grain of salt, but it talks about, especially if you're raising boys, like how you can help make them productive members of society. And it's a really good and interesting read. So yeah.
All right, I'll check it out. What's something you're looking forward to this year, business or personal?
In April, well, probably two things. One is I coach both kids, their baseball teams. That starts next month.
Sweet.
So yeah, it takes a ton of time, but I also love it. But based upon the snow situation, we may not play till like August. Like, I don't know how the fields are gonna be ready, but anyway. And then we're going to Portugal in April, so I'm excited for that too.
Sweet. How old are the boys?
10 and 7.
Bring them here to Williamsport, and we'll take them to the Little League World Series. We'll show them.
My older kid, he is on a travel team, and we're already exploring sort of a weekend, like whether it's Cooperstown or Williamsport, or Ripken has a facility in Maryland. So
we have Williamsport. Here in Williamsport, we have a brand new facility that opens this year. It's called the Williamsport Lumberyard 7-field complex, and tournaments are already filling up crazy fast. I'm on the board for it. So
I could tell. Are you like on the Chamber of Commerce for Williamsport?
I am on the board of directors for the Chamber.
Is this a sponsor read?
This is not. It should be. They don't pay me anything. In fact, I don't even have any local clients. So what am I doing? But it's
on my list. Though. I would love to go out there.
You should. I mean, it's awesome because we got there's a great museum, and then 3 hours away you could scoot up to Cooperstown. I mean, it's lovely.
You sold it.
Thank you for being on the show. It was a pleasure. I learned a lot. I think the people listening learned a lot. Don't sleep on what is happening right now. The world in AI and PR and media, everything is changing so fast and so rapidly. I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't reach out to Rebuttal, talk to Ray, talk to his team, talk to us, talk to somebody. I mean, you have to make sure you are aligned and talking to someone who's staying ahead of the curve and staying ahead of this stuff. I mean, it's changing all the time, and you got to get creative people that are doing this stuff for you because everyone's trying to do the same thing. And you have to have an edge in a way to do something that not everyone else is doing. Obviously, you guys are doing something good because you guys have grown pretty rapidly. Great job, Ray.
Thank you,
got
Ryan.
a great team too.
You can invoice me for that. That was fantastic. I appreciate it. And I mentioned before, GAVL to our website, do great work. Ryan's the man. So we're huge fans here. Thank you.
I got to give the credit to my how guy. So head of websites, Luke. So
Luke's good people too.
He banged his head on a lot of walls for that site. So
but look at him now.
Yeah, look at him now.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. See you, man. Appreciate you. Be well.
Ryan, thank you so much. It was great to do this.
You're welcome, Ray. Take care. That was a phenomenal chat that I had with Ray. I learned a lot about PR. I learned a lot about where we're going with the industry. I could just talk to Ray for hours and hours. He is so knowledgeable in this industry, and his team is bar none the best in the industry. I would recommend everybody listening, as I already said during the show, to reach out to Ray. And even if you don't think you're in a position to need a PR firm right now, I think it's definitely worth the conversation and putting it into your business plan on where you want to be. As Ray said before, some folks have tried to hire him when things have already happened at the wrong time. So being ahead of it, you can never be too early. And I think that the future is going to be very volatile, and having folks like them in your corner is only going to help you out. I also thought it was very interesting that such a curious-minded person loves competition so much, but as a business owner, as a lot of you listening are, I think it makes a lot of sense now that we're talking about it, because competition, I think, drives curiosity, because we all want to win. We all want to be the best we can. I know I wake up every day, get out of bed, knowing I want to do the best for my clients. I want to do the best for the industry. I want to be the best in the industry. Obviously, we have some great competitors out there, but that is what fuels us. I mean, what's the fun of being the only fish in the sea? It's good to have competition. So with that, appreciate you sticking around this long, and it was another great podcast, and I look forward to the next one. So until next time.